Hello, everybody, and welcome to another lineup lock show from Sports Ethos. I am your host, Keith Cork, and I am here to drop down the knowledge on any of this late breaking news for injury news for you guys. We are about 15 minutes away from another injury news dump, our last one before the slate should lock. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. How are you guys doing today? It is a fantastic Tuesday. April 4th, and we are going to get into this right here. I do have here some news here from the last about 2 hours. I believe the last two injury news drops, even maybe before then some of it. But obviously, Trae Young against my Chicago Bulls, too afraid to play us. He's out. Obviously, the Bulls strike fear in the heart of Trae Young. Ice Trae, not so icy. I am a bit wary of DeJounte Murray, especially on FanDuel. I believe his price is in the upper 8,000s, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check that. I believe it's actually 8,800. Yeah, it is 8,800 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think he's a fine play. I think he's 7,600 if I recall correctly. 7,600, yes. So that's a fine play. I'm not super sold on it on a really big slate here with 13 games. So I'm not necessarily going there. I think it's fine. I think a lot of people will have him, so it does drive me off of him a bit. One of the riskier plays that I do like, though, is Bogdanovich at 5,200 on DraftKings, looks like. And on FanDuel, he is also pretty inexpensive. He is 5,400. Both sides, I think he's a viable option here. And, he has beaten or had good games against the Bulls in the past. The Bulls do struggle to get out the 3-point line. Believe me, I know. I'm a Bulls fan. I watch every single game, probably sometimes even multiple times. But he does. He has blown up against the Bulls before. He's averaging 31.2 DK points over 3 games in 32 and a half minutes. But again, no Trae Young tonight. They're going to need somebody to step up. It is a big game between the Hawks and the Bulls. Really big one. So I'm surprised that Trae is not here. If the Bulls do win, they absolutely hold the tiebreaker over the Hawks for the play-in picture, which would be big because the Hawks might slip to 10th. Very well could happen. They could even be 9th. But either way, they want to have that tiebreaker. And so the Bulls are looking pretty good here in terms of that. So, yeah, I do like some Bogdanovich. Not really super into DeJounte on this slate. I think there's other guys around that price range on both sites that you can get into. But DK, if you want to roster him there, I think I'm totally fine with it. Lauri Markkanen has been ruled out. Kind of a disappointment in real life because, he is getting that most improved player buzz, and he deserves it. He's played absolutely incredible this season, but really dealing with that issue with his hand, it looks like. Colin Sexton, interestingly enough, was ruled in. I would definitely recommend staying away from Colin Sexton. I would not go with Colin Sexton on either DFS site. His minutes are probably going to be about 20, just not enough, I don't think. To really warrant a roster spot for me. Does he have the upside? Sure. Maybe you do hit a home run with that. He's going to have probably pretty low ownership. I do have a question here I want to answer. I'm going to try to prioritize your questions and injury news over my own little breakdowns here. But best three-point streamer tonight, Kispert or Svi? Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think he's actually next on my docket here to speak about, but I'm very big on Svi Mihalik. I probably just butchered his name, but Svi tonight is going to be a killer play. I think Kispert's also a killer play, so that's an interesting one. I would tend to lean Svi. He did have 9 attempts in that last game. I think it's really silly season right now. The Hornets have absolutely nobody. Dennis Smith Jr. was ruled out, so I would lean Svi there. But I think Kispert's a justified streamer as well. But I would just lean ever so slightly towards Svi. I think Kispert. He has the ability to beat Svi in 3-pointers. It's going to be interesting to see there how that ends up, but that's my call there. Good question, though, Brian. I appreciate that. If you guys do have anything, please do feel free to drop it in the chat. I will try to answer it as quickly as I can. But yeah, no Lauri Markkanen going back here. Sexton is in. I definitely think Ochai Agbaji is still a good play here. He's sitting at a pretty decent price point on both sites, if I recall correctly, 5,000 on DK, and on DraftKings he is sitting at 5,100, so about the same on both sides. We always get a little bit of a price bump on FanDuel, but I think he's definitely rosterable on either site. That's totally fine. But the big guy, obviously, in Utah, this is going to be chalk tonight. Everyone's on him. You're not going to. This is no groundbreaking news, but Kelly Olynyk is definitely a must roster in pretty much every format here. The one thing that may steer some people off of Kelly is that we don't know if the Utah Jazz are serious about winning this game. eliminated at this point pretty much. So, how motivated are they to beat the Lakers? Just don't know. But I think he's pretty safe. I mean, he's gotten over 30 minutes in 2 games in a row now. No Walker Kessler, no Lauri Markkanen. I would say absolutely just go get Kelly Olynyk in your lineup and worry about whether or not he plays after lineup locks and everybody owns him. He's going to be like 40 to 50%, maybe a little over 50% owned. We'll see. I will stick around a little bit after lock and give you guys some information as to what I'm seeing, in terms of ownership in my GPPs. I always like to do that, just kind of guys I'm talking about, just kind of look at that and give you guys some of the information on what my thoughts are there. If I'm reading the field correctly or if I'm not reading the field correctly, I think that's always a little bit of a good thing to look at. Just looking at the new news here, Malik Monk is going to be in, so that's cool. Not much to take away there. As I mentioned, Dennis Smith Jr. is out. And so we're looking at some backcourt guys there. So let's just go ahead and jump to that right there. We've got Mark Williams out in Charlotte and Dennis Smith Jr. I've already talked about Svi Mihajlovic. Svi, Mr. Captain Svi. What about Svi? He's a great play. He's going to have a whole lot of usage. I do like him, even though his price point's at 6,200 on DraftKings. I think he's still worth it. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a whole lot. He's been putting up assists at a pretty high rate as well. So I do still like him here, even at that price point. And on FanDuel, he is sitting at 5,400, which to me seems like a must roster. I know it's a Toronto Raptors. I know it's a tough defense that he's going up against, but I still do believe that Svi Mihajlovic can have a really good game here with some threes and some assists. So I would go ahead and get him in my lineup for sure. Definitely on FanDuel. DraftKings, you could definitely justify fading him there at that price point. But no, I think he's still a pretty good play. Nick Richards, obviously, that's going to be a lot of people going to gravitate towards him. I don't think you need to go there. There's some other centers, which I'm hoping to touch on here as we speak a little bit more up to lock here. But Nick Richards is on the table, obviously. He's fine, a fine play. I wouldn't say he has the highest ceiling in the entire world, but there you go. I actually like to play as maybe a little bit of a contrarian play. The guy going against him, Jakob Poeltl, who's going to get a backup tonight. I was into Jakob Poeltl even before Mark Williams was ruled out. But, I mean, both those guys, Mark Williams and Nick Richards, I mean, neither of those guys are going to get me off of Poeltl. Poeltl had a pretty good game. I mean, these teams just played each other, so we have some pretty good data from that. They just played, and Poeltl was having a fantastic game, but the game kind of got out of hand. So if the game stays a little bit closer in the fourth quarter, he puts up pretty big numbers. I know he had like 3 blocks, I believe. Let me just double check here in that last game. He had 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, 3 assists, 1 steal, 16 points, 3 personal fouls. So, I think he had 30 minutes. I mean, I think he's going to get 30 plus minutes again. He had 41.25 DK points. I don't see him doing worse than 35 DK points. So I think he's definitely a safe guy there at 6,500 for you to slip in your lineups. I would go ahead and go for that for sure. And lastly, he's James Bouknight over there in Charlotte as well. I was all over him on last slate, which is a smaller slate. It was an early slate. So he made a lot less than seeing him there. I don't think he's a must roster by any means, but 4,700 on DK and 4,600 on FanDuel. I currently have him in my FanDuel lineups. Don't have him on DK, but that's because there's some other guys I like around that range, or he just didn't quite fit in with my other salaries I'm looking again. So, but yeah, James Bouknight is definitely on the table. We are about 7 minutes away from a new injury news drop. Let me just double check to see if there's anything else that has dropped in the meantime. If you guys are liking what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like button for me. It does wonders for getting more eyes on what we're doing here. SportsEthos.com. You can go sign up for that DFS pass, and we are doing this every day in Discord. So definitely check that out for us, guys. All right, let's move on, though. I don't see any new news. We are still about 7 minutes away. Let's talk about the Spurs. Obviously, they have no incentive to win. They're trying to win Wembanyama, so they're just trying to lose. They are the last game on the slate tonight. So, that's a good thing because we can stick some guys in there and then, swap them out if we get other late breaking news. But, it's hard to suggest. I think, I'm not going to be super contrarian here. I think this is pretty widely known, but Mamu Klashvili, I'm so bad at pronouncing that name, but Sandro Mamu at 5,800 is a pretty decent play here, obviously, with no Zach Collins, DeAndre Ayton, a pretty decent, defensive center. But still, I mean, the Suns, they might run away with this. The Spurs are going to play Mamu, 25, 28, 30 minutes, maybe even. Let's see, he's been getting 29, 29, 28, 28, looks like around there when Zach Collins is out. So, if you're going to get that, if you're guaranteed that many minutes from a center, centers are always one of the, the positions here in basketball that produce their stats at a consistent clip. So you're going to get consistent value there from Mamu. So I'm definitely rolling with him for sure in a lot of formats. Also, Trey Jones, 5,600, been absolutely killing it, the last week or so. 52 DK points in their last game and 32.75 a couple of games ago against Utah. So, he has that upside there. 5,600 is a really sexy price tag, especially on DraftKings. I would definitely look towards those two guys. Who else do you trust on this roster? 5,800 on FanDuel for Trey Jones, by the way. And for Mamu on FanDuel, we've got 5,600. He's even better on FanDuel. Mamu is. I think he's pretty much a lock on FanDuel for me. But who else can we trust on this roster? Looking down this roster, I mean, we've got Branham, we've got Devontae Graham, we've got Keita Bates-Diop. Keita Bates-Diop does jump out to me as a guy you can roll the dice on. But if you're playing cash, you're just playing not to lose. You're not playing to take down a giant large field GPP. I don't think you need to go there necessarily. He's the same price as like a Book Knight. I trust Book Knight more in terms of value. I know they're not the same position, but you can kind of swap people out here and there. McDermott had a big one the last one. He had a huge fourth quarter. Can we count on that happening again? He had 36 DK points. Maybe it's a good dice roll for a large field GPP. I think, but I think these guys are just too uncertain to really trust them and their value here down the stretch. So that's my thoughts on the Spurs there. We're about 4 minutes away from another injury news drop here, so hopefully we'll get some more injury news here. Grayson Allen has been ruled out for the remainder of the season. Actually, he might not even be back for their first round series, so that's kind of interesting. It wouldn't be that interesting, but we also have Javon Carter out. So I was kind of looking at who do we play in that scenario? Is there any real value we can get there? I mean, with Giannis playing, Middleton is out, by the way, so that's a good one too. But Giannis is going to be playing, it looks like, and Drew Holiday is going to be playing, and Bobby Portis is going to be playing. So, I think, of course, Bobby Portis at 6,500 has to have some appeal anytime that there are people ruled out. He is a sixth man, and, a sixth man does step in when starters are ruled out. He's 6,700 on FanDuel as well. So very similar price tags. I think you can roll with them on either site, and it's totally fine. Not my favorite play in the entire world. I think that there are other guys with higher upside, honestly, elsewhere. But some other guys I would look at kind of in more of those larger fields. I'd look at Pat Connaughton at 4,300. I looked at Joe Ingles at 4,200. I don't think Wes Matthews is going to get in, but at 3,300, he might be worth a dart throw. There's another guy that's exactly 3,300 I'm looking at, though, on the slate. So just not super into these other guys here. The one guy that does stand out to me, though, is AJ Green at 3,200. A young guy. Been getting his feet wet here and there with the Bucks. I think that they are looking to develop him for the future. He got 18 minutes in the last game. I'm looking at him and I'm thinking he might get 20 to 23, 24 minutes in this game. And if that's the case, he's putting up that many minutes. I mean, at 21.5 and 23 minutes against my Chicago Bulls. In 18 minutes, he put 21.25 against the Charlotte Hornets. Against the Minnesota Wolves, he put up 15.25 in 22 minutes. So, if you're looking for a little 15, 20-point guy, not necessarily the most massive upside in the world, I don't think. But as long as he's hitting those threes, I think he's going to produce some good value for you at just 3,200. So if you need to save some of that salary on this big slate, he's not a guy. I don't think you're going to find many people 3,200 and under that are going to have that kind of opportunity, at least not that I've seen. So we also got news that Gary Trent Jr. is doubtful. Doesn't really move the needle a whole lot for me. It's hard for me to get a read on this game. It was pretty competitive, like I said, through three quarters between the Toronto Raptors and the Charlotte Hornets. The last game here, as I said, Jakob Poeltl is an absolute smash play for me. Obviously, you can look at guys like Van Vliet and Siakam or Barnes, or Anunoby. Any of those guys are fine. I had Anunoby in the last slate, but it was a 4-game slate. It was the early game slate, so that's why I had multiple Raptors. I don't think I'm going to roll with multiple Raptors here because I just don't think I think it's a very, very big blowout potential, obviously, with the Hornets just playing absolute, not guys that are very good. 15.5 game spread right now on DraftKings. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And as we're speaking, of course, There we go. As we're speaking, of course, my computer's freezing. I dropped it down the stairs. I have a new computer coming on Thursday, so a new micro PC, which I'm going to be plugging in and using. But and between now and then, it might be a little rough going here. DeLon Wright has been ruled out, so we're getting some new injury news right now. DeLon Wright has been ruled out. The Washington Wizards are an interesting team. Let's go take a look at them. And they're playing Milwaukee, obviously, which is a tough defensive team. It's a tough matchup. But obviously, no Porzingis, no Beal. Denny Avdija was another big name we were going to talk about there in terms of who was being ruled out. But DeLon Wright being ruled out also opens up some minutes here. I mean, look, it's tank season over there in Washington. Corey Kispert's going to be a popular play tonight. Can't blame people for that. As I was discussing earlier, if you guys have a question here, actually, here's a question right now. DeLon Wright out, Goodwin or Johnny Davis better option now? I would say I trust Goodwin a whole lot more. Johnny Davis is the higher upside play, I would say. Johnny Davis is going to get, as I was about to say, going to get 30-plus minutes. He's the tank season captain. They're going to give him all the run they can because they want to see what this guy has. He played 30 minutes in the last one. Put up 29 DK points, which is pretty nice. Let's see, Goodwin got, in comparison, 25. So, yeah, I think Johnny Davis is the higher upside play. But, again, Goodwin is probably the safer bet to hit value. So, do with that what you will. I would probably rather run Goodwin out there just because I've been burned by Johnny Davis the last couple of slates. So, I didn't play him last one, of course, when he had a pretty decent game. Obviously, Daniel Gafford is another guy you can look at 5,600. I think he's going to have a pretty decent game here. Senators do actually have decent games against the Milwaukee Bucks about half the time, so I would go ahead and look his way as well. Kendrick Nunn is an interesting name here, 3,400, that I think you can slip into some GPP lineups. Pretty decent per minute fantasy production here, and as long as he's going to get 20 minutes or so, I think he could produce, again, 20 to 25 DK points for you. So it's another guy there around that 3,200, 3,400 mark that's going to do that for you. I don't think it's the highest ceiling in the world, though. And also looking a little bit at some Anthony Gill with no DeLon Wright in there either. He might get into the lineup here and be kind of a sneaky play because he hasn't really been getting minutes lately. But last season, I believe it was down the stretch, he was actually putting up some really decent numbers. So I would look at some guys like that. I'm not super sold on any of those guys. I'm not super sold the Wizards keep this close, or they might score 18 points. It might be one of those type of games against the Bucks. So I'm pretty much fading this game entirely. I'm not even playing the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the AJ Green would probably be the one guy I would look at, the Milwaukee Bucks, just because I think the spread's going to be so darn big. Let's see if we have any other news here. Zion Williamson. We should expect an update on Zion Williamson on Wednesday, so that's cool. Doesn't help us with this DFS slate, but I'm glad hopefully Zion can get back in time for the play-in/playoffs. That'd be awesome. Alex Russo and Javonte Green have been given the green light, so they're both in. That's cool. Wasn't really looking at a lot of the Bulls here. I think there is some attractive pricing on the Bulls in a game that they really must win here. As I was saying, if you're just stream here, it's a big game here against the Bulls and the Hawks. So let's go take a look at my Bulls, since that is kind of my specialty here, since I watch all their games. But 7,900 for Zach LaVine just seems kind of a little bit too low for me. So, I do think you can roll them out there in GPPs. I went a little bit of a different direction here. I don't have any Bulls in my lineup. But I think this will be a game where they do play their starters quite a lot of minutes because, again, they're trying to win this. Even if they're up pretty big late, they don't want to blow it, and the Bulls have blown a lot of leads this season. So you can definitely count on them playing their starters there. So you can look at LaVine, you can look at Vooch, you can look at DeRozan. But I think LaVine at 7,900 is the one that's got the highest upside there. Caruso being in doesn't really move the needle for me on anybody. If you are scripting this as a blowout, you can look at Patrick Williams. Maybe Asmayo Dosunmu. Patrick Williams is 4,000. I assume it's 2,700, but I'm just not looking that way. Let's see what else we have here in terms of new news. Just going to refresh the SportsEthos page here. If you guys like what you're listening to, like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. Let me know that you're loving me. You get notifications every time we go live if you hit that subscribe button. So that's going to be big time for you guys. Okay, big one here. No Jaylen Brown tonight against the Sixers. Was kind of wondering about that. I believe he was questionable coming into this, and of course, the computer's freezing now. That's okay. We're going to wait for it to come up here. But yeah, no Jaylen Brown, obviously, against the Sixers. The very obvious answer here is that Jason Tatum becomes chalky. He becomes very much a lock as a top guy that's going to produce pretty much any given time. He is 10-4, which is really, really a nice price tag also. So I think you need to try to get Jason Tatum in your lineups, especially in cash games. I think that he's going to absolutely produce there. Marcus Smart's another guy I usually look at when one of the top dogs is out. He's 5,700 on DraftKings. Not super into that price. I'd rather him be like 5,300, 5,400, but a few extra hundred, that's not too bad. 6,000 on FanDuel, I'm probably not going to go there, honestly. Let me see. Tatum on FanDuel is 11-1. So, I think you can definitely justify not playing him as much on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he seems like an absolute lock to go ahead and get into your lineup. So I'll go ahead and try to swap that in as we're speaking here. We also have Brogdon, of course, no Jaylen Brown. He might get a few extra minutes, and Derek White, 6,000, 5,600 for Brogdon, 6,000 for Derek White. Both of those guys are obviously on the radar as well with no Jaylen Brown. 5,800 for Brogdon on FanDuel, and 6,500 on FanDuel for Derek White. Look, it's premium pricing. I still think it's definitely doable, though, with those guys, with Jaylen Brown being out. So big news there. So that's good. And they're playing Philadelphia, so I wouldn't go too deep on that Celtics squad, but any of those guys I mentioned are definitely good plays for sure. Let's see. Cam Reddish is out. Cool. The Portland Trailblazers continue to get worse and worse and worse. So that's fun. Matisse Thybulle out. Trailblazers continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And Watford's out as well. Knox's status is still questionable. So who plays for the Portland Trailblazers? I don't even know anymore. No, I do actually have a couple thoughts on that. There are a couple of guys I'm looking at, which if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen already. But obviously Shadon Sharp's at 8,000. He's fine. I think he's an okay play. You can get him at 8,000, or you can get Anthony Edwards at 8,100. For me, it's an easy choice. I feel like 8,100 for Anthony Edwards, it's much more reliable value, and you're spending a whole lot of salary there. It's a 13-game slate, so I don't think you need to get so crazy with your picks. Even in a large field GPP, I think you just go with the 8,100 for Anthony Edwards, and you just know that you're going to get what you're going to get. Drew Eubanks, 5,800. Obviously, a pretty decent play with everybody out. No Watford, he should play 35 plus minutes here. My gosh, he's going to play a ton of minutes. So it's another guy I'd be looking at as well. I'd probably play him over Mamu. I believe we said Mamu is about that same price. Let me see. Eubanks is 6,400 on FanDuel, so a lot less attractive on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, he seems probably like a better play than Mamu Kajveli. I hope I said his name right. I always screw that up. So anyways, yeah, the Trailblazers are an absolute mess. Just trying to see if there's any new news at this point in time. Pokuševski's out, so that sucks. Sorry, Pokuševski. There's no DFS takeaways from that. I don't think he was even in the rotation. So doesn't look like there's anything crazy there. So we'll just continue to break down what we just saw here. So yeah, let's see if we can work. I had Ingram in as a top play here. If you guys saw my thread on Twitter, please do follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle's down there somewhere. I'm not looking at the screen, so hopefully I'm pointing in the right location. Maybe it's over there. Maybe you'll see it. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. But yeah, I did mention that I thought Brandon Ingram was probably my favorite play. But I do think that obviously switches to Tatum here with Jaylen Brown being rolled out. So that's a big one. We're going to try to see if I can slip them into my lineup here while I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, make sure you are subscribing here. I think, Tatum on DraftKings is an absolute lock for me. Then I end up landing on Melodon. Do I really want Melodon, or do I want Derek White? Interesting. Yeah, man, that's a good one. Melodon 6,100, Derek White 6,000. Which would I go there? That's actually a lot closer than you would think, because Derek White has his ups and downs for sure. And I think Melodon has produced pretty steady value since he's been basically the de facto starting point guard. He's putting up 44 and 40 DK points the last two. Yeah, I think I got to go with Melodon there. And speaking of, Melodon's a fine play. I don't think he's a great play, but we're making a late swap here to get Brandon Ingram out and Tatum in, so I had to cut some salary somewhere. I went down from Jaden Ivey to Derek White, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what happened there. So Moving on though, yeah, back to Eubanks. I mean, I think Eubanks is definitely a smash play here. I had Mamu over on FanDuel, not DK, so I'm not going to be swapping to Eubanks there. But on DK, I did not have Mamu, so definitely have to. If you do have Mamu on DraftKings, you can definitely swap to Eubanks. I would definitely do that now. I wouldn't question it. I think Mamu does have, I wouldn't say the higher upside, but maybe he does outscore. He could outscore Eubanks. There's no doubt about it. But Eubanks is far, far more predictable. And as you can tell, if there's a theme here, I'd rather go with that and DFS. So that's why I would lean that way for sure. All right, let's see what other news we have here. Just taking a look to see if anything else has dropped in, and please do like and subscribe so that we can be notified here. We already know Gary Trent Jr. is out. We already know Jalen Brown is out. If you guys haven't been following, I went ahead and broke those down already for you. Don't see anything else too crazy, so that's good. Why am I? I shouldn't have that. All right. Let's go ahead and refresh the old Twitter feed and see if we can beat the SportsEthos timeline here by a few minutes. Gary Trent Jr. Let's see. The Hornets are starting Melodon, McGowan's, Mihiliuk, JT Thor, and Nick Richards. No surprise there at all. Let's see if there's some outstanding news that we're looking at here still to come. We've got about 20 minutes until lock here. See if we can find. So we do have, let's see here. Jokic is questionable still. We were waiting on him last time. Dude, come on, Jokic. Make up your mind, man. You playing, you're not playing. They're playing the Houston Rockets. I can't believe there's a lot of incentive to get him out there. I don't want to guess because last time I guessed he'd play, and of course he didn't. But man, there's just not a lot of incentive. I think they just want to keep him healthy for the playoffs, right? So I'd have to lean towards him not playing here. It's Houston. If he does play against Houston, I mean, he'll put up a massive line. So there's some good maybe GPP value for you, but he's not even in the late games here. The late games are OKC, Golden State, and San Antonio, Phoenix. So it's risky to lock him in because he's one of the earlier games to go ahead and get locked. So I don't know if I would necessarily go that route. I'm not going to get Jokic in there. LeBron James is questionable. I mean, he's playing. They've got to win. There's no way he's not playing. At 9-8, it's fine. I mean, there's no lawyer marketing going against him now. There's no Walker Kessler. This game I don't think it's going to be close. Sorry to say that. I think, I know the Lakers don't typically blow people out, but LeBron's going to take it easy in this one. I don't know if I can go to him here. Watch him have a killer game now. Watch him just destroy. It could very well happen. It looks like, though, that's pretty much it as far as, like, the big names that we're looking for. Oh, Karl-Anthony Towns is still questionable, so that would be a big one. Obviously, you can look at some Kyle Anderson. I think that's a really good spot there for Kyle Anderson if Karl-Anthony Towns does not play. He's one of the earlier games as well, 6:30 Central tip-off. But, yeah, if Towns doesn't play, Kyle Anderson's good at 7,100. It's a pretty price tag to pay for sure. I have to believe, though, that Towns will play through it. He played through the issue last game, so I'm not going to even try to do anything there, I don't think. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's any new news. Myers Leonard is available. If you guys want to pop him in their lineups, don't do that. It was a joke. Please don't do that. You will lose. Watch There we go. I muted myself. Hey, maybe you can hear me now. Sorry about that, guys. I'm having some issues here. I did drop my computer down the stairs. So thanks for that, everybody, for letting me know. Continue to let me know things like that. It is just me here, so I can't tell if I'm talking or not. But anyways, moving on. I said all these amazing things and gave you all the winning plays during that time when I wasn't able to be heard. So, I'm sorry that all the rest is going to be crap. I told you not to play Myers Leonard. I hope you heard that because Myers Leonard is trash, both as a human being and as a maybe not as a human being. He made a mistake. But anyways, moving on. I don't see very much here in terms of late breaking news. So again, who are we waiting for? We're waiting for Nikola Jokic. That's kind of really the big news here that we're waiting for. I don't think we're going to get it in time for lock. Unfortunately, their game is about an hour after lock, so we're going to get it right after lock, probably within that half hour after the slate locks. But yeah, thanks, Arnold. Yeah, you have all the winning plays now, Arnold, because he knows how to lip read, so he saw all those winning plays I was able to give out in a very short amount of time. I have a new computer coming on Thursday, I promise. It's just that right now I have to deal with this buggy computer that sometimes freezes, so I apologize about that. Peyton Pritchard is out. So that's interesting. I think AJ Green. No, I'm sorry. That's Celtics. So Peyton Pritchard's out. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is out. Not a whole lot to say from that. Actually, I was really excited for a minute there. I was thinking of the wrong team, but yeah, I think you can obviously go with Malcolm Brogdon or Derek White there. But yeah, I wouldn't really touch any other guards, any deeper guards on that team for sure. Wizards are going to start Goodwin, Johnny Davis, Kispert, Anthony Gill, and Adina Gafford. You're listening earlier. I did mention Anthony Gill as a possible play here with the Wizards in full-on tank season. He's got to be bottom pricing here. Let me just double-check that. I think 3,300. Wow. He's not even minimum pricing. I don't know if I would go to it. I don't know if I can trust it. 3,600 on FanDuel. That is quite enticing. It's a tough matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think he's fine. I think he's a fine guy. As I said, last season when he had minutes, he really did produce. I'm taking a look to see if I can see. He hasn't had any more than 19 minutes in the game logs I can see on FanDuel. I think he could get 30 minutes here and maybe produce 25, points, DK points, maybe a few more FanDuel points. He's an interesting guy, that's for sure. I'm not going to trust it. He's going to be so very low owned. I'm not going to worry about it. But that is interesting, though. They're starting Gill. He's a guy that we can definitely look for on the next slate and just kind of monitor what he does on this slate. I think I'm more comfortable doing that. I don't want to make a bad choice here because I feel like I have some pretty good lineups out there. So I don't want to. That's one thing about making these choices late is you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and swap off. Okay, Jokic is likely to play tonight, according to Chris Dempsey, who is a Nuggets reporter. So it looks like Jokic is in. This is a very good spot for him. His price tag is a premium, but if you're playing cash, I think you absolutely have to consider him out there. A little bit over 11,000 on DraftKings, and I have looked on FanDuel. He's 11.6, so definitely a premium pricing on both sites. But I think for cash, I mean, you can't really beat that absolutely lock for value against a Houston Rockets squad who's playing Şengün. Şengün's not bad at guarding other centers necessarily, but you know what I mean. Dylan Brooks is now doubtful, so that's interesting. Obviously, Kennard probably steps into a few more minutes. That's a possibility there. I apologize. I'm getting frozen again there. Kennard might step into a few more minutes. I don't think Zaire Williams is healthy. If he was healthy, he'd be a guy I'd be targeting for sure. Of course, I'm frozen. I'm so sorry, guys. Jalen Duren is starting tonight. That's great news. Obviously, Wiseman is a fade now. I've already dropped him in season long fantasy. There we go. Now I'm back. Okay, so let's head over to Memphis here. No Kennard. Kennard's obviously a guy that we can look at to get a few more minutes. Let's see. Is Zaire Williams is out. Okay, so he won't get extra minutes here. Memphis is playing Portland, so yeah, it's a team that they don't have to worry about. So we could get a little frisky here. Maybe some David Roddy gets a few extra minutes. Maybe Conchar, 3,300 is kind of a look stand out to me right now. Gets a few extra minutes as well. I don't know if I'd spend all my salary here on the top guys, John Moran or Desmond Bain against Portland. The spread has to be, 15, 16 points. Let me see here. Portland. Let's see here. We've got a spread of. Oh, they must have taken it down. Interesting. On DraftKings, I don't have a spread, but it's got to be a pretty high spread there. So I don't think I'm going to be spending a lot of my salary on these Memphis Grizzlies just because of the blowout potential here. 7,700 for Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe in some GPPs. That looks pretty enticing to me in this kind of matchup here. But Conchar at 3,300 is really sticking out to me. Maybe some Chandler at 3,000. Really hasn't been part of the rotation, but does produce a little bit when he gets in the rotation there, but I don't see any more than like 15 minutes for him. Probably not enough. Conchar, though, he was having a really successful season earlier in the season. Grab some boards, hit some threes, get some steals, and maybe you're looking at about 20 DK points. I mean, there's other guys, though, that are more of a lock to get 20 to 25 DK points. So I don't know if I necessarily go there. But again, if you're just tuning in, Jalen Duren is starting over Wiseman, so that's pretty big news there. I think you can definitely go with some Duren. Oh, they're starting Duren next to Wiseman. That's really interesting. Don't know how that's going to work, but I guess they want to see two, so they have really nothing else to play for, Detroit. So why not get crazy? Play 5 centers. I'd like to see that. The Nuggets did that with Jokic at point guard, I believe, a couple seasons ago. If I recall correctly. They should do that more often. More gimmicky stuff. Trendon Watford's out. We already knew that. Jaylen Brown, of course, we already knew that as well. So, yeah, there's some really late-breaking news here, guys, that can help you win the slate. Obviously, the Jaylen Brown thing's huge. There's some other little minor things there that could help you win as well. But, yeah, Jaylen Brown, I mean, you gotta get Tatum in your lineups. That would be my first and foremost thing here. That must be. I know that spread was moving towards Philadelphia, and that makes sense now. The books always know more than you. That's the thing. If you're out there gambling, you got to understand the books always have that inside information. They know more than you. It started off as a Boston Celtics 1.5 point favorites. I believe it's at this point. Last I looked, it was 2.5 in favor of the Sixers, I believe, and now it's probably like 4 or 5 points in favor of the Sixers. So they must have known Jaylen Brown was going to miss this one. But yeah, that is a huge one there. I would definitely do everything you can on DraftKings to get Jalen or Jason Tatum into your lineups. FanDuel, I think you can fade him at your own risk, obviously, but 11-1 is pretty pricey on a 13-game slate. You pretty much almost never have to go there. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on it at least. I can give you guys some of my other plays here. We're about 7 minutes to lock here, and I will stick around, as I said, through lock just to see what the ownership here on these guys are. I've mentioned, I think, everybody that I have on DraftKings. One guy I didn't mention here is a guy that's going to get overlooked at this point, especially with all this late breaking news. Anthony Edwards at 8,100 going against the Brooklyn Nets. Again, this is a pretty important game also for the Timberwolves. They are, let me pull up my standings here. They're tied, I believe, for their current standings here. They're a game and a half back of the Pelicans for 8th, and they're a game ahead of the Oklahoma City Thunder for 9th. So, they're still motivated to win here, I think. And the Nets, they're obviously a pretty decent defensive team with, guys like Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, I love what they have there in terms of like big wing defenders. So I think it's a really contrarian play, but I do play, these small field GPPs, single entry GPPs. I think he's a really solid option there. Kind of a lock at this point in the season to hit, 40 plus DK points. And he's one of the cheaper options out there in terms of spend up. So I'm really digging some Ant-Man here on this slate. I'm also digging, of course, Kelly Olynyk. He's an absolute lock for me. He's the one guy I would call a lock on this slate. Well, no, he's the second guy I would call a lock on the slate. The first guy I would call a lock on the slate is Jason Tatum. Second guy would be Kelly Olynyk. Fade Tatum at your own risk, I would say. Fade Olynyk. I think you can get away with it because, obviously he has games where he just kind of craps the bed. He is Kelly Olynyk after all. He's not Jason Tatum, but I still think he's a very, very very, very solid pick. Jakob Poeltl is another guy I've talked about here. He had a really good game against the Charlotte Hornets, and he's playing them again. Looking for the similar output here. He had 40 DK points or so in the last one. If you guys have any questions about should I play this guy, should I play that guy, drop it in the chat over here somewhere. I don't know where it is on your screen. It's probably like right over yonder. But do definitely follow me on Twitter also, where I drop my DFS tiers daily for free. So you can definitely do that. That's a really easy thing for you guys to do. The guy I haven't mentioned here as one of my plays that I do have in a lot of my lineups here, Goga Batadze at 3,300. I know if you guys have been following and watching my streams and listening to my podcasts, he's a guy I've been on for the last slate and beyond. But 3,300 for Goga, he's just an absolute points per minute monster. And the Orlando Magic have started to play him next to other centers here and there. So his minutes, I wouldn't call him safe, but he's probably going to get about 20 minutes. That's really all you need from Goga to be able to produce upwards of 30 DK points. And if that's the case, I mean, I'm playing Goga, man, over any of those other guys that are 3,400 and under that I mentioned that have a nice little value there. AG Green's an interesting one I mentioned earlier, stuff like that. So my computer froze again, of course. So I apologize about this, guys. I'm trying to get my information up here. But do hit that subscribe button. And next time we come on, I probably will skip Wednesday just to spare you guys this kind of thing here again. But Thursday, when I get that new computer all set up and we're able to get on, we will go ahead and get you guys some really Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm going to spare you guys this nonsense tomorrow, but Thursday I should have my new computer, and this won't be an issue. Goga Patadze, as I was saying, is a solid choice, I feel like, at his price tag there. So hopefully, can you guys hear me? I'm hoping you can hear me just fine. Comment in the chat if you cannot hear me, if there's no audio again. I think I'm unmuted, so I should be good. Okay, let's see real quick here. We got about 2 minutes to lock, see if there's any late-breaking news here. Javon, no information there. He's going to be out. Looks like, again, Jokic is probable. They're starting Wiseman and Duren together, which is interesting. Anthony Gill is starting. No new news here, guys. We're probably just going to Laravia is questionable. Big whoop. Zeke Naji is out. Big whoop. Some of these tertiary guys, fringe guys that really just don't matter. Jose Alvarado walking around without a boot. So that's good. Probably not going to play anytime soon, though. So nothing crazy, guys. We are, thank you for that, Arnold. I appreciate that. We are going to just take a look at some ownership here after the lock locks in, which should be here in about, 10 seconds or so, I believe. Let's see what we got. Yeah, we're very close here at the lock. Again, do please like, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter. Would love you guys for that. Just waiting here for the lock so I can give you guys some idea about some of the ownership here. And again, we will skip this tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get my new computer on time on Thursday, and I'll be able to set this up so that we won't have this issue going forward. All right, we should be past lock now, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I helped you guys, even though I know it was a little annoying there with no audio and everything like that. Again, I do apologize. Just waiting for my entries here to load up. And I'm frozen again. Okay, well, we might have to just skip that to you guys, but go ahead. Once I get back to the screen, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. You can go ahead and log out. But thank you again for joining me for this one. And sorry again about the technical difficulties, but we will get this resolved for the next go around here. Yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Follow on Twitter. Make sure you're doing all that. That would be good. If you want to stick around and watch me be awkward while I try to get back to the screen, that's cool too. I don't blame you. It's pretty funny. Maybe I'll end up as a meme somewhere. That'd be kind of cool.